Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
Hello again, everybody. It's Randy Hills. We are at the top of the hour. We're back after a few weeks where we changed our dates. We're back to where we should be. We're back to Tuesday night. We're back with Talking Memphis Wrestling, and we appreciate Calvin and James and everybody watching the show today. We're fired up. We'll be joined about 30 minutes into the show by Michael St. John, but we will have a panel member pop in just a few minutes. But first, I want to tell you, it's so good to see you. Calvin Lindsay, our buddy, he turned 42 years old Monday. So happy birthday to you. Tracy's in the house. Hello to him. As this is a show, and I think the best show dedicated to Memphis wrestling on the face of God's green earth. Man, I'm in a great mood, and I shouldn't be because I've been inside about 30 minutes. Let me tell you, when I came inside the house, well, I was outside the house from my car to home, just a few steps, and man, I wrote it down here to tell you. Here in Northeast Arkansas, 30 minutes ago, and we are under a heat advisory, a heat warning, as a matter of fact. We'll talk to Pat Trammell and see what it is in a minute where he's at. But 30 minutes ago in Jonesboro, Arkansas, the heat index was 110. The regular temperature was 94. This is the dog days of summer as we will continue our series after being away from it from a couple of weeks of talking about Memphis wrestling's greatest matches. We will review what we talked about 3 weeks ago, but we also have some video and great stuff. We'll talk about certainly no video for Rushwood Park, the great 1959 Spudney Monroe, Billy Wicks. We will talk about the debut of wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum. We will show the first fall of the 1972 Jackie Fargo Al Green first sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum. And we'll also see the Road to the Gold main event from September of 1974. We'll show Jack Briscoe against Jerry Lawler, a lot of other stuff if we have time for it. Tupelo concession stand brawl. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and if we don't get to it tonight, coming up, in other weeks we will show the greatest match I ever saw live, Lawler and Dundee. Maybe we'll get it in tonight. Lawler Dundee loser leave town match, June 1983. We will also show the Tupelo concession stand brawl, the return of the King in 1980, and a lot of other great stuff, including on future shows, the Hair versus Hair Lawler Idol cage match and the Lawler Kurt Hennig AWA World Title match, May 9th, 1988. We are loaded, but to do the weather forecast, wherever he's at, and I can tell by his backstage video that he is at home in Birmingham, Alabama. He's selling, wrestling terminology, he's selling. We're going to rock and roll into the screen and make welcome a injured, but always fired up, always excited, always the first guy that joined me on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Couldn't do this show without him and without Michael, without all the crew, without Adam Dunn. This show is not a one-trick pony, and the biggest trick I have on the cards is my friend Pat Trammell. Let's everybody welcome Pat to this show right now.
Well, hello everybody, and happy birthday to Calvin and James. You're James. I'm closer to your age. Actually, I am going to be your age for about a month and a half. PJ, good to see you. Good to see Bo on tonight. Bo's on the back roads outside Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's great to see everybody. Um, Randy, it's always special to me to talk about the early days of Memphis wrestling. And I've said this time and time again, and I've got a little piece of trivia that I've been doing some research on in a minute when we talk about our first match. But when we talk about the the impact of Memphis wrestling on the city of Memphis, I always think about, Jim Cornette is a historian himself, but he also is good with the numbers, and he talks about the run of sellouts at the Memphis Coliseum and per capita. I'm always fascinated by this, and I'm certain it's accurate. Cornette says that during the run where we were getting 11,000 people Monday night, week in and week out in Memphis, Tennessee, if the WWF had gotten the same amount of people in New York City, they would have been selling out Madison Square Garden 3 times a week. And that tells you a little bit about how many people. The entire city is about Memphis wrestling, and that's why I love it so much. And good to see you all. Kenny's on from Walnut, Mississippi. He may sing "Coward of the County" for us later, but we're really excited to be here tonight.
All right, Pat, let's deal with the elephant in the room. But before we do that, I want to ask you what's your weather conditions? You've done my job by saying hello to everybody. So the first question I had mentioned, asking about what in the world are you selling for? Why don't you let people know that?
Well, I was virtually pile drived by my 16-year-old black lab. I was asleep on the couch last Monday, and he climbed up on the couch with me and threw me out of the ring. So I'm on and off in my neck brace. So, but I'll be okay. It is 91 by the thermometer, but according to our weather people, it is 96 as a heat index today. So it's hot and humid all over the South.
James Davis says there's thunderstorms in Clarksville, Tennessee. That's military country. Have you ever been to Clarksville, Mr. Trump?
I have been through Clarksville, Tennessee several times. Great town.
Why
Good
don't
to
you spend your first take time updating people? You talked about your injury. You're selling here. You're asking and looking for sympathy from everybody. You can send donations for his recovery fund at BR9567, I think is the correct note there. But first take time, what else is going on in your life, Pat? Are you taking time off from work? Are you still going at it? What's going on? And hello, Pat. My buddy Pat Rose is in the house. His son is just a great young talent in music and in wrestling. Tanner Waterbury is in the Pacific Northwest. Pat, official first take time now.
Well, official first take time now is we're talking about again some of the great nights in wrestling history. Good to see you on, Doc, uh, tonight. My first take is the first match we're going to talk about is the famous Russwood Park match. And to put that into perspective, I think there were 13,000 people there. At that time, according to the population center, 5% of the people in Memphis, Tennessee were at that wrestling match. So you think about with a population that Memphis had at the time about I think it was about a little over 400,000 people, 1 in 5. So look up and down your street, 1 in 5 families was at that match, and I think that just speaks to the love, and we like to talk about the glory days of Memphis wrestling, but I think the glory days of Memphis wrestling probably stretches back further than we even know. I am really excited to watch the Lawler Briscoe bout. That's one of my favorite bouts. I think Jack Briscoe is one of the great in ring workers of all time, or certainly in my lifetime. And you're right, Tanner, entire neighborhoods. Um, and I'm always excited to see this match because I think Briscoe brought out the best pure wrestler in Jerry Lawler um, that night.
Lawler could do anything. He really could. I mean, whether it was brawling or wrestling, he was just fantastic. The greatest wrestling talent I've ever seen in my life.
There's
There's no
there's
doubt.
something I don't know tonight that I'm excited to find out about, and I'm just going to wait till it plays out, and then we'll see.
The Blues Doctor, Dr. William Robinson, is in New Orleans, Louisiana, saying hello to me and hello to Pat, and we appreciate that very much as well. And I want to go back to what you said. I want to clarify something you said earlier and make it even better than what you said. Now, talking about the Westwood Park card, and by the way, I think Randy West is watching tonight. It was his idea to do this series, and so this is for you, Randy, Danny. But what did you say? One out of five people in Memphis attended that event.
Yes, sir.
I think it's higher than that. This is why you were basing that on the 13,000 people that legitimately saw the match that bought a ticket. Now, there was reported, good sources say, that about 8,000 people, which would have put it over 20,000 people, knocked the fence down and broke in and watched the match for free. So I think that figure you said of one in five, whatever you said, I think it's even, and that's fantastic. I'm not doubting that, but I'm just saying a lot of people snuck in, Pat, and that's a great deal. Now, how big of a match would it have taken for you to risk going jail by knocking down a public building's fence to see a wrestling match? It must have been, it would have had to be, I mean, it would have had to be something. But in Memphis, Tennessee, the point I'm making, Pat, and the point you started making as well, I got so excited with what you said. I'm going to make it bigger than you had it out to be. That's just tremendous. Would you go to jail to see Sputnik and Billy or Billy Whips?
Absolutely, I would.
All right.
I've gone to jail for less.
Uh,
Dr. Robinson, Rusty says he agrees with you, Randy. Said his dad was there and they broke down the fence and several thousand came in for free.
that is a fantastic comment for sure. Randy Dandy is still in the house or is watching the show again. And Randy pitched the idea for me. This will be a several week series. We're not going to get everything tonight. Now, we 3 weeks ago started by listing stuff, and we go as far back as there's no videos. This show today, as we wait for Michael St. John, hopefully he'll be here at 7:30. Hopefully, we will cover everything. Won't be able to do it tonight, but we have so much good stuff. And the further in years we go up, the more ability we have to have video, and we will show video tonight. Certainly, we will not have video of the first match. And Adam, there will be some pictures of these two gentlemen we're going to talk about today, right now. And Pat is going to have something very interesting, I think, to say about how one of these wrestlers changed Memphis, the history of the culture of Memphis. It's amazing. It was August the 17th, 1959. It was in Westwood Park, a baseball stadium. It officially drew 13,749. The first match was Tom Drake against Joe Scarpa. Joe Scarpa ended up being who, Pat?
Oh, I forgot.
Chief J Strongbow.
There we go.
The next match.
Now, I do have a insight on Tom Drake. There's Russwood Park. We understand that that's over close to where uh, um, the Children's Hospital is now. Is that
That's
right,
interesting.
Randy?
That's interesting
Yeah.
that it's in the same location the hospital is in now. That is
Thank
great.
you.
What were you
Over
going
my
to say?
fingers.
What were you going to say?
You mentioned Tom Drake that was in the match.
Yes.
Tom Drake went on to be a probably 20 or 30-year member of the Alabama House of Representatives from the Cullman, Alabama area, which is where I went to the dentist today, which is about 40 minutes north of Birmingham. And I had the opportunity to meet him one time.
Hey,
And
that is fantastic.
he
A little
was
Alabama history. See, people, what you get Arkansas weather and you get Alabama history. And I wanted to clarify and say information that Adam's feeding to me that Russwood Park before our time following wrestling, real famous building. Put that up again, Adam. And Adam tells me it was at the corner of Pauline and Madison in
okay.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, well, and I was a little bit wrong here, and Dr. Robinson's correcting us, which we appreciate. He says it's across the street from the Old Baptist Hospital site.
Everybody, if we accidentally make a mistake and misannounce something, we appreciate William. We appreciate you doing that. And every single one of us on this show, we're not perfect, Pat. And we certainly, if we say something wrong, would beg our audience. And again, how about these? This damn Adam Dunn is the best producer that I can have. I mean, he is Johnny on the spot. He gets there about 5 minutes before you did, and he probably had an idea of what we're going to talk about. But man, he's going with the flow on what we talk about.
That is a deep right center field right there. You got to get a hold of one to get it out of that place.
That is beautiful. That's
now for those that know, is that Baptist Hospital behind the park there, Dr. Robinson?
I think he's saying across the street, which could be right behind from the old Baptist Hospital.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not as William says. Russwood is across the street from the old Baptist Hospital site. Both are gone now.
Yeah.
Julie Yates is saying hello to especially Adam. So hello. Oh, she says hi to us too, Richard.
All right. Hey, Julie.
And before we get into this, you repeated it already, but Richard Hood is asking what is, by the way, let's go to Bo. They says they recreated the baseball park in the Elvis movie a few years ago, and I think that's fantastic. Go ahead, as Richard is asking about your neck again. So quick, because we've already done it. Tell us
my oldest dog and best friend in the house, Shadow, climbed up. I was asleep on the couch in the den. Shadow crawled up, got a little tried to get a little too close to me, rolled me off the couch, and landed on my shoulder and my neck. So I'll be fine. I'm going to be fine. It just the right side of it bugs me every now and then, but I'm okay.
August the 17th, 1959, Russwood Park. And you saw that great picture that Adam put up there. That's fantastic. The main event with Rocky Marciano, world boxing champion, great mainstream celebrity, was not in the main event. He was not wrestling in the main event. He was refereeing the main event. And we have pictures of the wrestlers. And the Diamond Ring, Cadillac Man, Sputnik Monroe, the craziest son of a gun that ever came down the pike. I think we have a Sputnik Monroe picture in our graphics section, Adam, and also his opponent, of course, was Billy Wicks. Now, here's a guy you see with a face like that. If you saw him going down a dark street at night in Memphis and you saw a face like that, blonde hair, especially in 1959, I bet Pat Trammell, you'd be like me, as we say hi to Al Tuttle. We would cross the street and get away from this crazy man.
If Sputnik Monroe was coming down the street in broad daylight, I'd cross the street, I think. But I'll tell you what, there's probably, other than Fargo and Lawler, nobody more impactful to Memphis wrestling in the ring.
Well, I think I would agree with those three, but when you open it up wider, and I'll let you, first of all, I want to show the picture of Billy Wicks. You saw that heel, how horrible looking he looked, man. He was scary looking. He was scary looking as hell. And if we can find the picture. Now, what a nice looking gentleman, good looking man, a top athlete wearing a championship belt. So we show that, then we show again Sputnik Monroe. Who would you cheer for?
It's pretty easy to see who the baby face is here, for sure.
Absolutely. As we look again at Sputnik Monroe, see the contrast there. There's nothing like it. So Pat, I say significant to Memphis wrestling is, I agree with your statement. However, if you open it wider and say significance to Memphis, the city of Memphis, Tennessee, and the significance in a roundabout way to the whole South, could be because of Sputnik Monroe, and I'll let you speak to that.
Well, I mean, Sputnik was a huge draw, huge come into town draw in Birmingham, and I'm sure Nashville and everywhere else. I mean, that's there are wrestlers that are local talents that everybody loves and all that, but there are people that get called in for specific things or come in to draw a house, and Sputnik was one of those guys.
No doubt about it. And we talk about Sputnik all the time. Richard is saying, like, we don't know this. He says, guys, Sputnik broke the color barrier in Memphis. And of course, I've known it since I was probably 6 years old. Absolutely. And we talk about that a lot on this show. I think Al Tuttle, we hurt his feelings a little bit by not mentioning Bill Dundee.
Well, there's no question about that, Al. I agree with you.
No doubt about it. And how many professional athletes, professional wrestlers, how many entertainers ever broke the color barrier in a city? I don't think you can name one. Oh, you can. You can name one. The man we're talking about, Sputnik Monroe, right?
That's right, and I can't think of a similar individual. Well, I can too, but it was a tag team in Birmingham. It was Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just the fact, and that I would say that was the first time in Birmingham and maybe in the South that Bearcat Brown, a black wrestler, and Lynn Rossi, a white wrestler, were tag team partners. Not only were they tag team partners, they were tag team champions. And not only were they tag team champions and tag team partners, but they sold out that Boutwell Auditorium.
And I was there for one of those matches in about 1967.
For sure. Dr. Robinson, as we go back real quick to Russellwood Park, he said you could tell when Elvis was in the hospital because the windows of his room were all covered in aluminum foil. So that's a little quirky, isn't it?
Yeah, but I remember seeing that, and he was talking about Dr. Nick too, who was actually from about 20 miles up the road from my birthplace in Anniston, Alabama.
Is that right? That
That's
is
right.
interesting. So we're reviewing what we talked about the last 3 weeks ago before we stopped and moved to Wednesday for the dark side of the ring. And so the Rustwood Park was the first on my list. The second on the list was the debut of wrestling at the Mid South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. It happened on June the 7th, 1971. It drew 9,523 people, which is a just fantastic as we look at that, and the 9,253 people for only Wiki against Gary Martin, Tinker Cod against Mario Galento, Darlin Dagmar and Cora Combs against Diamond Lil and Ann Casey, the Alaskans against Bearcat Brown and Frank Hester, a World's Lady title match, Moolah against Vicky Williams, Southern Junior Heavyweight title, Lynn Rossi against Sputnik Monroe, Devon Bronner against Jackie and Roughhouse Fargo, Don and Al Green against Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto. It was titles against the Hair again. June the 7th, 1971, Pat, the debut event for wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, freaking Tennessee. And that's such a impressive card. And the money matches, the final two matches on the card, very interesting. Two tag team matches, because at that point, before Jerry Lawler became the king, Memphis was a tag team territory, but great single wrestler. This is a hell of a card. It's interesting to see what kind of style between Lynn Rossi and Sputnik Monroe, because this would have just been what, Pat, 2 years after the Rustwood, no, longer than that. The Rustwood Park match was in '59. That was Hicks and Sputnik Monroe. This is the debut of wrestling at the Mid South Coliseum, June the 7th, 1971, Pat.
Right, right. And again, remind me, Randy, what did the Ellis Auditorium hold?
You know, I never intended, Doc Mike can help me on that, because he's about 40 years older than me. I'm just kidding. He's not that. He's close to my age. But a little humor there, Pat. You didn't laugh. I hope Doc is laughing.
I was trying to do the math.
Anyway, so 1971, Sputnik Monroe being on the match. And I would have liked to seen Lynn Rossi and Sputnik Monroe, but I would have liked to seen this debut card. And as you respond, Adam, for about 10 seconds, I want you to take me off the screen so I can see if I can fix my camera right now.
Well, I mean, the debut at the Mid South Coliseum was basically a start of the new era in my mind of wrestling, and it really 11,000 people again in 1971. A sellout of that is probably on the order of 3 or 4% of the entire Memphis population in wrestling. And I do know I think I'm quoting uh, Jim again. Um, on Saturday mornings for Memphis wrestling, at times there were over 60% of every TV in Memphis, Tennessee
It
was
got as high
tuned
as
to wrestling.
70%.
Huh?
It got as high as 70%.
Yeah, probably did.
It did,
Probably did.
definitely.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's hard to imagine in our world of people that are staring at their phones all the time. And the only thing that I can imagine, and it probably was more than this, and it should have been okay. But if you were alive, and most of us were, I think all of us were. Um, thank you, Doc. It's about 7,000 altogether. Was the last time that I think there's been that many people at one time tuned to a TV. If I'm and maybe my memory's not as it should be, but I do remember 9/11, and I think everybody in America was tuned on the TV then. But 10% of 7 or 8% of the population uh, tuned to Memphis, or 70% of the population tuned to Memphis wrestling is something we'll never see again.
It's crazy because on a regular basis for years and years and years, Memphis, as William says, Memphis wrestling got 70% share of the audience, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. So Russell Park is the first one we talked about. The second, we talked about the debut of wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum, which was June the 7th, 1971. We'll talk now about the first sellout. It was over a year later. It happened August the 8th, 1972. Now, the first show at the Mid-South Coliseum in 71 drew 9,253 people. The second, the show was about 8,000. Then we go over a year later, it drew 10,653. The building was set up for 10,653. It was a sellout for Oni Wiki Wiki against Joe Blassie to open up the show. Tommy Gilbert against Corsica Joe on the second match of the night. Frankie Lane and my mentor and friend Eddie Marlin against Don Green and Sir Steve Clements. And then the final match of the night was Hair versus Hair, Jackie Fargo and Al Green, 2 out of 3 falls, no disqualification. Hair versus Hair. Also, Don's U.S. Junior Championship at stake. And also, if Al Green lost, Don Green and Sir Steve Clements plus Al Green all had to leave town. Now, you have a comment about that, the first sellout, before we get into the video?
No, I'm just anxious to see the first video. And Dr. Robinson, good to see you. Our best to your lovely bride, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Is Doc got to go?
Got to go eat dinner with the wife.
All right. Good for him, certainly. So what we're going to do, and I wanted to tell people, if you want to watch all 3 falls, we're just going to watch the first fall. I'm a babyface type of guy, so we'll show the babyface finish in the first fall of this match. And certainly very excited to see this. And again, this was the first sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum. It was in August the 8th, 1972. The video is 8 minutes and 47 seconds. And I don't think there's commentary, so we may have to add sound for this, but we do have sound for ring announcing. I can't believe this. The first sellout of the Mid-South Coliseum, and Lance Russell had the day off. Dave Brown left Channel 13. It might have even been before he was doing the weather. Anyway, he was the ring announcer. And again, it's 8:47, and here we go with this, and just a spectacular first fall. And we watch that now on Talking Memphis Wrestling with Pat and Randy.
I think you know who the heel is and who the babyface is.
You can look at it, absolutely, and hear the people. So simple, Pat, that setup, so simple.
Who's the referee, Randy?
He said, but I didn't catch it. I thought he said Bobby something. I have no
I
idea.
thought he said Tommy something.
Is that Tommy Marlin?
That's what I was thinking.
He's
You'll
skinny.
know in a minute.
Fargo, always professional. Look how he looks, the short tights, the boots. Tanned as it can be. I don't see a knee pad from anybody, Pat.
Nope.
So Fargo gets the offense to get the people going. Al Green, the cowardly heel, scoots out. And here we go again. People intently watching this match. Again, no lean skirt. It ain't fancy. But man, what an atmosphere. Now, if that would have been today, a duck spot, the guy would have ended up through the table. But you saw the reaction. Al just didn't even hit the floor. But did you hear the reaction the people got?
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
have to do all that foolishness. This is a contest. That's how it's legitimate.
Now, how old was Al here, Randy? Would you have any guess?
Maybe late 40s.
Okay.
Maybe early 40s. I think he was close to Eddie Marlin's age, I think, and Eddie was born in 1930. We're watching the first sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. August of 1972, hair versus hair, Jackie Fargo, Al Green. We're showing only the first fall. You can go to YouTube, search Al Green, Jackie Fargo hair match, and watch the other two. So that's everybody's homework. Look at this. Look how great that looks. Has him down, punches him 3 times in the face, and Al, the big heel, scoots out. This is Pat Wrestling Psychology 101.
And you notice it's no time limit, no disqualification, so fists are legal.
Right. Good point. Does anybody lock up anymore?
Yeah, I was thinking that myself.
Now, Fargo takes a good bump.
Yep.
As Al says, good versus evil doesn't get any better than this, and that's for sure. Fargo, one of the best sellers I've ever seen. Of course, when you talk about sellers, Jerry Jarrett was great. Fargo was one of the best. Lawler was great. Ricky Morton was great. So many great. Al took over here. Al Watcher says he notices that each hit means something. Look at these clubber. Look at this vicious. Boom. Fargo not going down. He's registering it. He looks out on his feet. About to go down. Al nails him again. Fargo goes to 2 knees. This is what wrestlers are trying to do. Go ahead, Pat.
I said, there you go.
Great comment now.
Now, I don't know if Fargo went to his tights or something 30 seconds ago.
I
may
would
have
think
seen
not. The baby
Okay.
face, I would think not.
Yeah.
This is the first fall, the 2 out of 3 fall match at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. This drew 10,125 people. Look at that Coliseum, Mid-South Coliseum between Southern and Central Street in good old Memphis, Tennessee at the fairgrounds. Taking their time, not rushing. Everything is totally logical. Look at Al jump. I can't believe Al jumped that high. He is all over him. Fargo again. Even the people in the top of the building could register his selling. As now Al, of course, even though it's an ODQ match, cheating. August 1972.
Nice. That's perfect right there. That's selling. Look at that's great.
Now watch. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 1, 2, and 3. What do you think the boys, the wrestlers would say now if I would give them the finish? Say, yeah, Hill, the babyface gonna punch you in the face for 8 times, and then pin you 1, 2, 3. They'll say, you mean he's not hitting me with a chain? He's not hitting me with a table? He's not pulling a gun on me? He punched him 8 times. 8 stinking times. 8 stinking times. And got the 1, 2, 3. Now, Tony Richards, who joined the Tragus Thez Hall of Fame last week, I will be recording a interview for his show coming up in a few days. And Tony mentioned the Angle interviews of this match in his Hall of Fame speech as a match that got me hooked on pro wrestling in 1972. I watched that summer and have been addicted ever since. I think I'm more addicted than you are, Tony. And this is the very same match that got me hooked because I watched the TV show the Saturday before, maybe my first wrestling television show I ever watched, not to miss anymore, but the line from Al Green, who he was trying to talk Fargo into having a hair versus hair match with him. And the famous Fargo came out and said, I beat you and I beat you and I beat you, and you have stooges running all over the place, and the people like my hair and I like my hair, and this is what the fabulous ones, you can't have a fabulous one that's bald. So no, I'm not doing it. And so he went back to the back. Al Green came out and did that famous interview, and this is it's not bad language, it's just strong and thin. Said, here is what we have now. Jackie Fargo, the big star, the big champion, the big superstar, he comes out here, and he has proven he is a coward by saying no. He is a coward, a scum of the earth, but he gets it naturally because his father, his dad was a coward. His dead freaking dad died a coward, died broke, died a coward. He is a coward. Then Jackie Fargo busted out the WHBQ studios on Highland Drive in Memphis, Tennessee. He busted out there. I went away. Jackie Fargo did one of those Jerry Jarrett type of interviews, the crying type. interviews. My dad is the greatest human being ever. My dad was the best man. My dad taught me everything. Anything I am today is because of Jackie, because of my dad. And for him to call me a coward, that is not going to happen. I will get you. I'll beat you to the end of your life, and I will put my hair up, and I will also shave your head, and I will run you out of town. I will run your brother out of town, Sir Steve Clemens out of town. My dad, I can't believe he came on this TV. See, now people would think that was campy, but it
Yeah.
was real. He said people, and they had never seen it. He came on this TV for millions of people to see it. He called my dad a coward. My dad's not a coward, and I'm going to shave your head. Called Monday night. Sold out at the Mid South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, and certainly just fantastic. One of the great things that events and angles that ever happened. And I want to show you, explain this. It did over 10,000 people. The next week, return match did 8,800 people. The week after that, beat the hair match. It did, because they put in more seats. It did 10,900 people. Then the next week after that, it did 10,900 people for a Cage I Quit match. So in a span of about 5 weeks, look at the money that did, because I guarantee you, Madison Square Garden holds 20,000 people, and it runs once a month. This is a weekly town that did 8,800 people, did 9,500 people, did almost 11,000 people twice. This is unbelievable. Personal issues draw money. I need somebody to make me a sign and send it to me that I can put behind me. Personal issues draw money, no doubt about it. This is a prime example, Jackie Fargo and Al Green. Now we will go in just a minute to our star member of the panel. But again, go to YouTube for the next two falls, and you will see the completion of that first fall. Your thoughts, real quick, as we wait for Michael, as he's in the backstage area. Just what did you think about that first fall? I thank God I missed 1972.
Oh, I agree. That was a great first fall. I'd like to see the whole thing, and I'm going to watch it and would encourage everybody else to. Now, I don't. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
In Birmingham, after the falls, the wrestlers went back to the dressing room and then came back out.
Yes.
And I think that was kind of common procedure back in those days. And I think they were in there, 5 so minutes, which
Yes.
in my mind added to the excitement. The last, well, not the last live match I ever saw, but I went to see Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes when Nick dropped the belt at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Cody dropped the belt to Nick before he went off and helped start AEW. But they had three falls, but they would stand in their corners between time. There was something special about going back to the dressing room and letting the crowd talk about that last fall to me.
That's
I love
really
that.
special. And as you watch, if you search YouTube and watch fall number two and fall number three, uh, after the first fall and after the second fall, they did go back to the back. And I don't want to give away the layout of the matches for sure. So do you give that a double thumbs up?
No question about it. That is better than anything I've seen in 15 years.
And I am sorry, but we had to continue this show because it is 7:50, 10 minutes to 8, 50 minutes into this show. He is a busy man this time of the year, no doubt about it. We're getting closer and closer and closer to football season. He is a Memphis Wrestling Broadcasting Hall of Famer, a broadcasting business Hall of Famer in so many states. I can't even think about it. He's a legend in our mind and in your mind. Not so much in his mind because he is just that type of guy, and he'll never say, I'm Michael St. John and I'm great. But he's Michael St. John, and he is greater than great, and he is joining Talking Memphis Wrestling 50 minutes late, but thank God he's joined us. Pat and I have held down the fort. We are here talking the greatest nights of Memphis Wrestling. We are back on Tuesday nights. All is right in the world. First take time, Michael Sant freaking John.
Well, first of all, that introduction was sort of over the top. I think you're working me. But speaking of working, Pat, looks like you're working.
Yeah, I've been worked.
Well, all right,
Yeah, that's right.
Working the gimmick. But thank you, Randy. I appreciate it. And then that great stuff. I don't believe in that, but thank you for the kind introduction. I have a good excuse. Pat, you'll get this, and I know Randy will get this too. My excuse is I have a $5,000 excuse. I had a client that I had pitched Alabama football advertising to earlier last week. Called me up and said, if we'll bring the contract down this afternoon, I'll sign it and we've got to go. And so
All right.
he closed his office. He closed his store. It's a men's store. He closed at 5. So I was there at 5:05. And so I have a good excuse from a revenue standpoint.
Wet contract. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, and I'm telling you, no offense to Alabama football, but we've had it. We're the third oldest affiliate on the network. We've had it since I bought the station in 1997, which, by the way, next Friday, we turn 30 years old.
All right. Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. So, but anyway, this is the toughest year for selling Alabama football since we've had it. So anyway, for what that's worth, first take is this. Let's get on with the show because I know I'm late. But boy, the wrestling world is the wheels are spinning in the old wrestling world. I got to tell you, there's a lot going on, and the feedback that I'm getting from any and everybody that has watched the Jeff Jarrett episodes on Dark Side of the Ring, everybody that I know, and I know I'm probably biased, is saying that it is probably the best episodes that Dark Side of the Ring has ever done. So that's a real compliment to Jeff and to the people at Dark Side.
Because the story, first of all, doesn't end as a sad story. It ends as a rejoiceful story, and I think that's the difference. Hey, we talked about Westwood Park. We talked about the debut of wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum in 1971. We just saw the first fall of Al Green, and I had a time, because I did it at 7:30. You said you thought you would be on, but now that I know what you were doing, man, I don't blame you for doing it at all, but we did show that second fall. Now we are going to get to the build to the road for the gold. Listen to this card on September the 16th, 1974. And if there's anything that you can help me with, Adam, or graphic wise, as we talk about the road for gold, I think I have a couple of newspapers clips and things involving in the main event, which is Lawler and Briscoe. But this card opened with George Goulas against Jim Lancaster, Robert Fuller against Dennis Hall, the great Lou Thez and Don Green that wrestled to a time limit draw, and I would have paid maybe $1,000 to see that. I mean, in 1970 money, for sure. Lou Thez, Don Green, 1974, September the 16th. Then came the Bounty Hunters against the fabulous Jackie Fargo and Tojo Yamamoto. A Southern Tag Team Championship match, Al Green and Phil Hickerson against Eddie Marlin and Tommy Gilbert. The next match was for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. The week before, Jerry Lawler had defeated Jack Briscoe's brother, Jerry Briscoe. Jerry Lawler would come back the next week against Jack Briscoe, and this show did, as I'm looking, 10,125, the highest ticket prices ever for wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum. And we are going to show a video of 11 minutes and 27 seconds in a few minutes. Now, the whole year 74, Michael, has changed. As we had been talking about, Memphis being primarily a tag team territory, opened the Mid-South Coliseum in 71 with 2 tag team main events involving Tojo Yamamoto and Tojo, of course, team with Jerry against Don and Al Green, the Von Brauners against Jackie and Roughhouse Fargo. Man, tag team territory. This is the road to the gold. This is single action, and this to this point, and it happened in 1974 in September the 16th, was the biggest match of Jerry Lawler's career, Michael.
All right, turn it on.
That'd be good. Okay. Any words about agreeing or disagreeing that at that point?
I'm listening. I think you set it up beautifully. I mean, it's just, it's interesting, and you're right. And the question is Jerry Lawler the reason Memphis went from a tag team territory town to the singles championship town? And I think it is. I don't know of another wrestler in another territory that caused that kind of shift in momentum of the type of matches that people really gravitated and enjoyed.
No doubt about it. And Adam, if we can, before we get to the video, if you can go way down to 5850, and it's right under the Sputnik Monroe picture, 5850, and then after that show 5851. So we'll go back and forth to there. The battle of the century, September the 16th, 1974. Look at that. Jerry Lawler and the great Jack Briscoe. Just fantastic, tremendous, just amazing match at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. As we now head to the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee for this NWA World Title match, 11 minutes and 27 seconds, and it probably went longer than that, but we watch now with Pat, Michael, and Team Hill. Here we go.
Attracted the attention of the NWA and its champion, Jack Briscoe. Jerry Lawler had proclaimed himself the king and demanded a title shot, and Briscoe was a fighting champion. A series of mysterious events led up to this classic NWA Championship battle.
That's you, Michael.
Provided a twist of its own at the end of the match.
Instructions are being given right
Wasn't
now.
it?
More than 10,000 people gathered.
No, that was not me.
In the
No.
Mid-South
It did sound like
Coliseum
it.
to witness
Yeah.
It did. I don't think I was listening to it. I hope
Hey,
I didn't.
Adam, can we start that back over? This is important, and we'll
Okay.
all be
All right, let me
quiet.
listen to it because I was paying attention to the video and what was being said. I wasn't listening to the voice.
The stir that attracted the attention of the NWA and its
That's
champion,
definitely not
Jack
me.
Briscoe. Jerry Lawler had proclaimed himself the king and demanded a title shot, and Briscoe was a fighting champion.
No, that's not me.
A series of mysterious events led up to this classic NWA Championship battle that provided a twist of its own at the
Is
end of
Tommy
the match.
Marlin the referee on this
Are
one?
being given right now.
Yes,
More than 10,000 people gathered
dressed
in the Mid-South
fancy.
Coliseum to
He would
witness
usually come in
this epic
a
fight
special NWA referee
between
for world
Jerry
title.
Lawler, the
Jerry
challenger,
Briscoe in the
and
corner.
the world's heavyweight king, Jack Briscoe.
You know, you guys were talking about the rest periods between 2 out of 3 fall matches. I think there was something about in a championship match that was like boxing. They took the break between falls but didn't go back to the dressing room. But in other matches, depending on what arena you were in, Pat, you mentioned it in Birmingham. I think Nick Goulas and Roy did that more so to sell concessions and let people go to the bathroom and take a break. And you got to remember back then, smoking was allowed in the arenas, so it was a cigarette break for a lot of people.
Well, nobody that I saw in Boutwell took a break to smoke. They just fired them up in the seats.
That's what I mean. You fire one up in the seats.
Begs him to come back in and take some more.
Jack Briscoe, a fiery world champion, making his first appearance at the Coliseum. This is a great match.
And Briscoe's such a great wrestler.
I agree with that, Pat. I think he's underrated when we look at him, when we watch him in this day and time.
The referee checks to see whether Lawler submits.
I also think that this is this Lance Russell doing a recreate off of film versus doing play-by-play on site, because I can just tell by the canter that he's using, it's not a normal Lance Russell play-by-play call.
As any sample, he'll never be able to live up to that boast. Briscoe holds that reverse face lock from.
We played this before, but one of the most famous matches, and we will, at the end of this series in a few weeks, we are going to recap what we covered, and then we'll try to rank them, certainly. So far, just what we've watched, talked about today, the Westwood Parks, Rodney and Billy Wicks, the hair versus hair first sellout with Al Green and Jackie Fargo in this world title match. When we come down to having to rank them, Michael, it's going to be a hard job.
Oh, absolutely. And again, there are eras, and you got to take the era into consideration because of the style of wrestling.
That's the way it has always been with him. Those who hate him and those who love him.
Pat, you've said it before, but I will ask the question because we have new people watching now. Is Jack Briscoe your favorite NWA champion of all time?
He continues with a
He's very close if he's not number one.
Trying to pry Briscoe's.
Yeah, I actually think he is. I like to watch him work better than anybody else. This is wrestling in the ring. And, Harley did a lot of that. But once Flair got the belt, it was about Flair. Now, not to say he could not go, but this is a technical wrestling match with some, it'll get heated here today, as we'll see.
And I think you just gave us the quote of the day. Flair was about Flair, and he had not only about him as the name Flair, but the match itself had flair to it.
That's
so
correct.
I think you gave us the quote of the match. My personal opinion is Harley Race, I think, was the best technical wrestler that I ever witnessed or had the chance to call a match up. But I've seen some matches with Thesz, and I've called a couple of Thesz matches, not when he was champion, but into his decline years. But I've seen some film of people like Buddy Rogers and Whipper Billy Watson, Kaniski, that would hold their own in what we're ranking in this day and time.
The first 10 minutes of it, Jack Briscoe kicks his way out of it.
Briscoe was he was a football player. And he was I think he was an NCAA champion wrestler too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was the amateur champion at one time. The other thing about Briscoe was in great shape. He was probably the first world champion to be in the kind of shape that we have learned to see out of the world champion, because before that, all of them sort of had I won't say beer belly, but they were more rotund, let's say.
Johnny Edwards thinks Thesz was the greatest NWA champion ever.
I could agree with that. Also, where do you place San Martino in all of this?
Jack Briscoe crashing, finally gets up to
different style for the New York area and the WWF. Absolutely set it on fire. He didn't get over he
there.
did not get over, Bruno did not get over a Scarrett in the NWA town
It's
St.
Jerry
Louis.
Lawler
People could
in a
have cared
dominant
less.
position right in the
They
middle.
thought, that's not a world champion.
He
He
continues
didn't
to
get
hold
over
to
in
Jack
St.
Briscoe.
Louis, as good as he was,
Sam Bass
not
being
in the
told to
eyes
sit
of the
down, and
St.
he
Louis
does.
fans that grew up with Lou Thez and Dory Funk
Marlin
Jr. and Gene
over to check
Konechny
and
and Pat
remind Lawler that he
O'Connor,
has to have it on
and
the
I
chin.
can go
He
on and
can't
on and
drop
on.
it down on the throat. Briscoe once again.
I can add a little bit of a
Starts his move
story
and
to
trying to
that.
work
The
his
day
way
I
out.
had lunch with
Kicks that arm.
Sam Munchnick in
And
Clayton in St. Louis when I was programming there.
Pulls him back down.
We had about a 2.5-hour lunch, and then a week later I went up to his condo and said hello with Gene Donanovich and saw the archive, if you would. But I asked him a question, and we were just, we were talking. And I asked him because the big deal in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, was to have a combination match to combine the championships, and it would be involving Vern Gagne, it would be involving the San Martino, and would involve the NWA champion. And I think it sort of started with Briscoe when he had the belt, and it never came to be. And then he sort of explained to me then why, because each territory made more money having their own world champion. And it made sense, made economic sense. It didn't make sense to, sports fans, but it made economic sense.
Hell of a match going on as Tony Richards says he ranks Dory Funk Jr. as #1 NWA World Champion of all time, Lou Thez #2, and Jack Briscoe #3.
Wow.
I would agree with Dory Funk Jr. because he did all kinds. I didn't think he had much of a personality. His work was unbelievable. I think I would agree with this. As we call out the Jerry Briscoe in the corner of Jack, and of course Sam Bass in the corner of Jerry Lawler, and now Briscoe, as good as he was with offense, he's selling like fire right now, Pat.
Yes, sir.
The other thing, and I want to mention this to Tony, all three of those guys were not good promos. Thez was probably the best of them all, but Dory and Jack Briscoe were not good promos. I think Race probably brought the heat to the promo, and then, of course, Flair became the promo king.
And kicks his way out of the pin by Jerry Lawler. Sam Bass hollering at his boy, finish him, finish him. Lawler drops, goes for another cover. One. Briscoe this time
in my mind, not to talk too much and
1.5.
interrupt the match, because I certainly want to watch and focus on that. I think in the old days, and Briscoe and Dory may have been the tail end of this, the territory days, you wanted an extraordinary wrestler to show up as world champion.
High in air, but Briscoe without the
And
strength to take
for
him
the the local favorite to be challenged in a wrestling match.
Could be it.
And with Flair, it was the badass in the promos to draw me in. But I mean, this is to me a great athletic contest for the day.
I agree with you about the athleticism of a champion, because he had to be an Iron Man. Because in many cases, if he was wrestling 5 or 6 days a week, in different territories and go to different places to put his title on the line, many of those matches were going 60-minute Broadway, and you had to be an Iron Man. I mean,
I heard Harley Race say one time he wrestled in Tokyo and Chicago within a 24-hour period.
Oh yeah.
Down on Lawler's knee. He springs him with the leg lever. Jack Briscoe springs it again.
See that? Now that's a move you never saw.
Regaining his strength now. Steps it over. Lawler once again kicks his way out, and down goes referee Tommy Marlin. Tommy Marlin flat on his back. Jack Briscoe with his brother hollering, "Get up, Jack, get up." Jerry Lawler in the center of the ring
He went to his tights, right?
Standing
Oh, yeah.
upright. Nails Jack Briscoe with that vicious right hand. Goes for the cover, and here's referee Tommy Marlin. 1, 2, this could be it. 3, the new world's heavyweight champion, Jerry
Hometown
Lawler.
boy cheated, and the people, Michael, going crazy.
As the referee,
They think their hometown boy, this guy that Jerry Briscoe stood off the chain.
Jerry
They
the
piled,
King Lawler
drove
still
him.
rules within the wrestling world, but now it's mostly from behind a microphone. As for Jack
Now, who's the
Briscoe,
ring announcer
he
there?
maintains a close relationship with his brother and the sport.
I would
And he
imagine it
recently
would have been
released his
Lance.
autobiography titled Briscoe.
For sure. Quick thoughts about that match. That was just fantastic. We'll start with you, Pat.
Well, I mean, I love these kind of matches, and I Lawler has his own legacy and his own highlight. He had a 40-year highlight film reel, right? But Lawler was a better technical wrestler than he was called upon to show, in my opinion. And Memphis wrestling's it's a rough business, but that was a fantastic wrestling match.
Michael, your thoughts.
I thought Jack Briscoe was a great tactician in wrestling, and I think that showed it. A lot of amateur, as you watched him go through his holes, his moves, the way he did things, very much amateur style. Where Lawler was more of a brawling style, and I think Lawler. Don't get me wrong, Lawler could work. Lawler was a great worker. I always thought Lawler was a better seller than worker, and I'd probably get comments about that, but I thought Jerry Lawler could sell anything. He could sell when he was on top and he was going after, and he would sell when he was being beat up on. And again, I think he's a great worker. I think he was one of the greatest workers to ever come along in professional wrestling history. But at the same time, I always thought his selling side was better than his working side.
I want to go with Tony Richards' comment again. And by the way, I will be recording Tony's show coming up Thursday. And if we could go to Tony's last comment talking about the world champions, and I can buy what Tony's saying. He gives Dory Funk Jr. the nod because of his almost 4 years straight of champion and defending the title worldwide. And he always made it look like he could lose. And that was not always the case with Lou Thesz. And I agree with that comment, even though I saw Thesz after his NWA title run in later years, but I can see that as well what Tony's saying. Michael, do you agree with what Tony's saying?
I totally agree. And knowing Lou Thesz and knowing Lou's view of the business and the way Lou's approach to the business, Lou was always, he introduced American strongman wrestling. He was the strongman, the champion of the wrestling ring. And that's the way he wrestled every match.
No doubt about it. Just an A+ match. And I think everybody, Pat, if you were doing Dave Meltzer stars, would you have broke the star system? What would you have rated that?
That's a 4 1/4 to me right there.
Well, he's given the deadgum Young Bucks 7, so I think I would.
I'm talking about out of 5.
Okay. All right. How about you, Mike? How would you?
Well, according to Dave's rating system now, I'd give it 452 stars.
Yeah.
Because it is so well beyond what we're seeing today. And the beauty of that match, Lawler was young in his career at that point, and Briscoe was at the height of his career, and you saw the result in the ring. And I thought the way the match was laid out, and I thought the finish couldn't have been better. The referee raises, or Lawler's arm goes to raise his arm, the chain falls out, and it's a drama story. It's awesome. It's awesome.
We're going to go from one extreme to the other in this next match. This next match will be a tag match that turned out something else. This happened in 1979 One of the most famous, again, this ended up having return matches in Memphis that drew a ton of money. It originated in Tupelo, Mississippi, and it's 9 minutes, 15 seconds. Let's go to cameraman Mike Shields. Let's go to Lance Russell. Let's go to the Tupelo Sports Arena, 9 minutes, 15 seconds, and we'll be back.
Comes back, though. You might know
This match joined in progress.
Would pull it from somewhere, and he
Wayne
knocks
Ferris,
him
the
flat
future
off his
honky tonk
feet.
man.
Ferris
Larry
down, and
Latham, the future
comes in.
Moondog Fight.
Nails Dundee in his run
Manager
out now.
Danny
Lawler
Davis,
comes in and
the
exchanges
founder
the
of
favor on
Ohio
Ferris.
Valley Wrestling and former Nightmare.
Latham back in.
Who's the referee, Randy?
Jerry Calhoun, a young Jerry Calhoun.
A skinny Jerry Calhoun.
Really a
looks
real
like
mess.
my build.
They have banged on him and beat on him. Going after Dundee. Third fall, remember that. Oh, Billy nailed him one. But Latham and Ferris both in, and here comes Lawler. Jumps over.
Randy, was the ring smaller in
Ferris to get
Tupelo?
the
It
dunk
looked
to
smaller as
Latham.
at the camera
Knocks
angle.
him right off the ring apron.
I think it was smaller. I
Ferris
just
back
went
at
to
it.
Tupelo for wrestling once, but I think it was smaller, Michael. I think that's a good point you made.
And Dundee caught in the crossfire over near Latham and Ferris's corner.
Those turnbuckles are taped by hell and back, too.
Tag. Oh, double clothesline on Billy.
Oh,
And
how
there's
he
a
can
cover
sell,
one.
man.
Lawler comes in at the nick of time. We're running out of time on our championship wrestling. I
First
sure
cousin,
hope that we're
James.
going to be able to get all of this bout in.
Carl Fergie, who called me the other day,
Dundee coming back.
was also a first cut.
I think their mothers were
Latham head to a
sisters. Is that right?
turnbuckle.
Yes. Yeah.
There's Lawler in. Now all four are in.
Johnny Edwards worked with Calhoun when he worked in
Dundee
computer
covering
ops at FedEx in the
Ferris.
late 70s. He had a heck of a
Calhoun
career
trying to
for
get
Fred
Lawler to
Smith
stop
and
beating
FedEx.
on Latham outside the ring.
This team we're looking at was called the
And Dundee
Blonde
trying to get the
Bombers.
referee's
Wayne
attention.
Ferris, Larry Latham.
Ferris comes up
Manager
from
Danny
behind
Davis.
and nails him. Going to his tights. He may have had something in his hand. Backdrop sunset flip, but no referee. Here comes Calhoun being held by Latham. Latham going back in. Drops on Dundee with the elbow, and Lawler pulls the referee back to
This
help
is a
his
good
partner
finish.
out. Billy in the center of the ring. Count of 1, 2. Did he get 3? The referee's signifying, ring the bell. He got a 3 count, and he is going to call a pin. Yeah, I know, our time's running out. The referee, in fact, is awarding the belts to Latham and Ferris as the new Southern champions. Lawler nailed with a belt. Dundee grabs a belt. Slams Ferris. Oh, Dundee hit him right in the face.
He hit him pretty hard with the belt that time.
Absolutely.
It is a brawl in the center of the ring. The referee, who was abused outside of the ring, let's be fair to him, by both Latham and Lawler, got in and gave a count on Dundee with Latham covering. Got a 3 count. And the belts were awarded to Latham and Ferris as
Holy
Lawler
juice in
and
the match
Dundee,
after the bell.
grabbing the belts back, are
Right.
pounding on Latham and Ferris. Trying to get it stopped as the referee and having no success. Lawler bleeding where he was nailed with that belt. Ferris. Latham, the referee, is down again. A wild melee going on.
Okay, Adam,
in
let's
the middle of that ring,
pause that for
as
just a
Lawler
minute,
and Dundee with those
if we
belts.
could, because I want to kind of explain what was going on at the time. In 1979, after coming out of Jerry Jarrett's first year of promoting in 77 as Jarrett Promotions, 78, a great year. 79, they brought in Robert Fuller as the booker. Business went down at the end of 79. Robert Fuller went back to Knoxville, took the 80% of the crew with him. Jerry Jarrett had to start from scratch, absolutely, in 1979 because 90% of his crew was gone, but he had Lawler, he had Dundee, and he had some underneath talent. And he had to make chickens, excuse my language here, chicken salad out of chicken shit. And that is exactly what he did. And this is what popped the territory. We saw a wild ball. We saw a contrast between the 4-year earlier Jack Briscoe, Jerry Lawler match. Memphis known for its brawls as we continue this tape now on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Jerked away from Latham and Ferris. And Dundee comes around from the side. Yeah, I know it. Our time is running out right now. We're going to have to call it quits as our time is up on Championship Wrestling. It looks like that they are outside the ring. This is Lance Russell from the Tupelo Sports Arena. Hey, Mike, can you get the camera? They got a hell of a fight going on down here. Can you get it down? Let me get the light stand off here. Bring it on. We'll go back and edit this. Yeah.
This was about June of 79.
It's caught under the damn door. I know it. We'll edit it back in.
See, you never would have heard Lance say damn on a broadcast.
Okay,
so this makes it real, right?
Right.
What you're looking at is the wildest fight we've seen. Latham and Ferris and Dundee and Lawler in the concession stand, all four of them bleeding, pounded each other. Lawler, ooh, fired a gallon jug. They're banging away. Watch out, Mike.
Cameraman Mike Shields.
Dundee with Latham and Lawler
Mike
with
Quidd,
Ferris.
the greatest
Oh, there's mustard
cameraman
all
of all
over
time.
us. I hope it didn't get the
Came on
camera.
for it.
The referee trying to get him stopped. Dundee right on top of Latham, right below us. We're on the stairs leading down to the concession stand.
I still think this is the best below concession stand brawl, without a doubt.
Me too. Because it was the first. It was original. People hadn't seen anything like that.
What a brawl! I've never seen anything like it.
And
now
it
they're trying to get somebody in
wasn't
to
that
help
they
stop
were
this
inventing
thing.
things over to
This
be
is
over
just
the top
totally out of
like
hand.
the next one was. This was just all,
Latham and
whatever
Ferris,
was there.
Lawler and Dundee in the concession stand at the Tupelo Sports Arena, brawling all over the concession stand. A gallon bottle had been thrown, glass on the floor. Lawler slams Ferris with a stool, and again, Lawler rattles a pan around. Dundee on the far side being stomped on the concrete. Can you get it? With Latham. In 27 years of it, I've never seen a battle like this. And Lawler trying to be strangled by Ferris.
I like here, Michael, how
Dundee
Lance
with a
is not
mop,
over. This is the
wailing
crazy
Latham.
thing, but Lance is not over the top.
Not at all. And it's almost like
Promoter
on
Jerry
top of the
Jarrett,
action, which
although he is not a promoter here,
Boy, this just gets better
trying to
and
get
better.
him to stop. He's got Dundee separated.
Eddie Marlin and local promoter Herman
Latham having been
Sheffield
racked up by
in the
that mop
background.
handle. Dundee going after him. It's just a street brawl. Jerry Jarrett with referee Jerry Calhoun. Jarrett trying to get it all stopped. Dundee picks up a table. Everything broken up. They're falling all over. Mustard everywhere. Ferris laying in the middle of the floor. Dundee rushed out of there. Lawler.
All right, there was the Tupelo concession stand brawl in 1979 in Memphis, Tennessee. So I like the contrast. We saw the 1974 classic wrestling match between Jack Briscoe and Jerry Lawler. And would you say Jerry Lawler matched Jack Briscoe hold there, Michael?
Pretty darn close, absolutely. And I like the way the match was done. And Briscoe, was on the verge of losing it several times, and Lawler shined, and it was great. I'm just saying this about this concession stand brawl and what we just saw. That is almost 50 years old, and it still, to this day, lives. It's a match I've seen. I've probably seen it 50 times, and every time I watch it, it gets me excited about professional wrestling.
The interesting thing is, and it's I don't know exactly how to say this, but Lance sold it so well. He really did, really did, and it did come off as authentic and unique, and not, not I don't know if it's Meltzer or what, but some talking head calls it all that crazy Memphis stuff, but it was not that at all. I mean, they played into it so well.
Just fantastic, and I think both things we saw was fantastic. Let me go from there. I started by saying Robert Fuller left, took the crew with him. Jerry Jarrett needed to get it going, and so he came up with this that popped the territory. Then toward the end of 79, they switched Lawler back to being a heel. At the start of 1980, in a softball game, Lawler broke his leg and was out all of 1980. We showed this next.
To Randy, not to interrupt, but Lawler, didn't he break his leg in a football game, not a softball game?
A football, touch football game that wasn't a touch. No, Pat.
Randy, let me ask you something. You talk about Robert taking people with him. And of course everybody remembers history the way they want to remember it, right? Jerry Jarrett would tell you that bringing Robert Fuller in was the dumbest thing he ever did. The house went to 18 people, and nobody made any money, so he ran him off.
It did go down to 3,000 people.
Well, why would the boys go with him?
Because he had brought his own crew.
Oh, okay.
And so it was Professor Tanaka and Mr. Fuji and his cousin Jimmy Golden and people like that, the Mongolian Stomper. In response to that, in defense of Robert for so much, obviously it was at the very same time, and both sent a little note. They kind of had a clue it was going on. Ron Fuller and Southeastern Championship Wrestling in Knoxville was going against opposition. That's the Knoxville 5. That's when they tried to take the territory. So Robert had to go. Robert had points, and Jimmy Golden had points in that territory. They had to go back to save that territory. So Robert will say, you said different viewpoints on this deal. Facts are facts. This is around the time Knoxville was having a promotional war, and
Okay.
Robert had points in. At the
That's
same
great.
time,
Great history.
at the same time, business was bad. Robert Fuller was a great booker in Knoxville and in Continental area, in Dothan, in that area. What he did in Memphis didn't click.
Yeah.
It really didn't. One of the biggest mistakes he made, that he wasn't the biggest fan of Jerry Lawler, and all of a sudden he was presented more of a star than Lawler, and that wasn't going to happen in Memphis, Tennessee.
No, that was not going to happen in Memphis, Tennessee.
Do you think there was some aftermath or a little afterbirth of Lawler being gone that may have caused that? No, this was before Lawler went out.
This is before the broken leg, yeah. So remember, Jarrett and Lawler broke off. I think you have to throw and Dundee and pretty much the whole crew.
It's March of 77.
77.
Right.
And what we're looking at is June of 79. Lawler had the broken leg at the beginning in January of 1980.
Right. Okay.
So does that timeline make sense?
That timeline makes sense. Fuller came in because Jerry was burned out from the book.
I've heard it several different times. Jerry Jarrett had been booking Memphis since before his companies. He had been booking Memphis since 1967, even though half the crew we've talked about several times didn't know he was being the booker, but he was successful. He took on, shortly after starting Jarrett Promotions, took on Buddy Fuller as a partner, because Buddy Fuller's real name is Ed Welch, and all the things that went with that, and to kind of make the NWA happy. I've heard several different reasons. And so Buddy was a partner, not a half partner, a smaller percentage, but he was a partner. And so he went to, the story I always heard is he went to Jerry Jarrett and said, Jerry, said, you've booked since 1967. We don't need to get it where you get burned out. I've heard that story. Roberts just came off a run booking Knoxville, did record business, and he did. And he said you need to rest your brain. This is before Jarrett and Lawler started taking turns, because you do need a rest. You absolutely do. And so Jarrett thought, well, I hadn't had a vacation in years. This will be good. And it just didn't click. Does that make sense? And do you agree with that? And Pat has his hand up.
I think that's when, and no, I agree with that. And Jerry told me that Eddie Graham told him, you need to bring Buddy in to get in the NWA, and that will give, because everybody knows the Welches, and that'll slick everything that's gone on with Nick and Roy, and it did. That may have been, and Randy, I'm speculating here, that may have been when Jerry bought the place in Florida.
It could be. I can't say one way or the other. Michael might.
Yeah. I think that timeline coincides, Pat, without a doubt. The thing too, and you look at the progression, and why would Eddie Graham say that to Jerry? Because in reality, you had Roy Welch, Nick's partner, who then his son was Buddy Fuller, whose son was Robert Fuller.
I agree.
I mean, that's
what Jerry told me, and it's in his book. Not that matters, but that's what he told me.
And I've not known Jerry to, he was the closest one to the situation, so he would know.
I believe that. I believe. 100%.
Another question, Randy. This was not the time that Dundee went to Houston, is it?
No, that was when he went to Mid-South Wrestling.
Yeah.
That was the end of 83, the beginning of 84, and 79.
Okay.
So timeline, I think we're in sync there, as we were saying earlier. Again, as we look at some great nights. And anytime you talk about sellouts, I think you certainly have to say when that happens, it has to be on your list. 1980 wasn't a good year for Memphis Wrestling. I'll get to that in a minute.
There was a can I make another comment?
Yes.
There's a famous scenario um, where they're playing to a 2,300 house at the Mid South Coliseum, and Jarrett walks up to Robert Fuller and says, "Well, it can't get any worse." And Fuller said, "Oh yeah, it can." And that was
Yeah.
kind of the end of it.
That was the thing that sealed the death. That sealed the coffin. The coffin
Yeah.
was there. That sealed the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that knew, anybody that knew Jerry knew that he. Now, I don't think Jerry lived he didn't live a life where he was, a Ric Flair kind of life, but Jerry liked nice things, and you can look at that house that, as Dundee famously said to Lawler, did you build the East Wing or the West Wing? So I'm sure he had some pretty high overhead, and I think you're staring a different lifestyle in the face when you're looking at 2,300 people in the Mid South Coliseum.
I think it's interesting too that that comment, or then I've heard that about Robert Fuller, and that comment many times. I think that quote has taken on a life of its own, just like Daddy Says Sell has taken a life of its own.
Yeah.
Richard Hood says, is this the time the Plan B video came out because of the promotional war in Knoxville? No, it didn't come out till 2 years ago. It was done at that time when the promotional war was going on. But yeah, it came out just a couple of years ago, no doubt about it. As we go back to our timeline, we want to talk about 1980. Jerry Lawler, and as we said, I think we mentioned it 30 minutes ago now, but we're talking good stuff. I mean, fantastic stuff here about the history of Memphis wrestling, and that's our what we do. That is what our assignment is, to teach the history of Memphis wrestling, and we're deep and diving on that. 1980 was a bad year, but the one thing that saved it is they set up the next 5 years by the famous interview. What do you do with a horse, Russell, that breaks his leg? You shoot him. Jerry Lawler is dead to me. And so what carried 1980, even though it wasn't a great year, but it was building Jimmy Hart, and that got him going, and it made 1981 so much better. Lawler out the entire time. To do this timeline, I'm repeating some videos that we fairly recently shown, but I think it's important. Lawler coming back, and the official start of Lawler and Hart that carried the territory for 5 years. The time on this, the return of the King at the Mid-South Coliseum, the last Monday of December of 1980, 7 minutes and something seconds, and I am seeing if I can find that right now. 7:39 as we watch on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Okay, you want to bring him in, guy? Right, give me right down, so I don't get you. Oh, that's right. NCAA.
Thank you, John.
Lawler out for a year. Listen to the people. Listen to the folks, everybody. Listen to that pop pack. listen to this pop. Look at the entrance. Remember, this was 1980. He comes backstage. This is mature. I think we muted the audio, I think, or we got muted by YouTube because Michael, non-copyrighted.
Well, we just don't have a license to play copyrighted music from ASCAP. Assholes.
As Frank said, this is the biggest pop that he ever heard at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee.
I thought Troy Graham, this had to be one of his best matches ever. Had to absolutely be one of his best matches ever.
Especially for this was his second appearance at the Mid-South Coliseum, Michael, and it's certainly his first main event. This is a high-profile match. Lawler had been gone a year, and this is who they picked.
Well, not only that, and you talk about the Dream Machine.
I mean, look at that guy.
I'm telling you, he went, but he was never this big in any other territory. I mean, he was as big here as he ever got.
And I know my understanding is, and I never met him, but my understanding is, like a lot of guys, that it's not an easy lifestyle. Troy was his own worst enemy, but boy, it's a shame because for a guy his size, there are very, very few that I can see move like him.
He was a hoot in the dressing room for sure.
I was not around him a whole lot. I did work a couple of shows with him, and I got to tell you, he was a character. I will agree with that. He had a great personality. He had a great personality.
Idle hands and a little money, gents, is the devil's workshop.
And especially if you're getting the payoffs that he was getting, because he was not getting that kind of payoff before he got into this with Jimmy and Jerry.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This may have been the biggest beatdown Lawler ever gave Hart.
Did Hart get juice on this? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
I don't think Jimmy ever got juice.
Not that I can remember.
Not that I can remember either. I guess his face was too pretty.
Somebody asked how Troy was outside the ring. He was entertaining in the dressing room, that's for sure. As they continue to fight here, and Dream Machine just drew a ton of money. And in fairness, Michael, almost anybody would have, with the right build-up, would have drawn against Lawler because people wanted to see Lawler.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. But I think this was a good combination, though, because this was a guy that was bigger than him, that had the hood, that Jimmy had talked up to be the next superstar. And I think all of that. I love it now when everybody comes in for the pull apart. Awesome.
Sidebar right now, folks. I just thought of it watching the Masked Dream Machine. talk just briefly. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Pat, we'll start with you. Name me 3 or 4 of the most successful mask wrestlers in Memphis wrestling history.
Wow.
And certainly we just saw one, the Dream Machine. I think certainly he was great. But what would you say? A lot of mask wrestlers in.
Wow, if you hadn't asked me, I'd have told you. Memphis was not a mask guy town, really. I guess, God, Randy, don't put me on the spot because I'm drawing a blank.
I don't know about masked singles wrestlers. I know tons of tag team wrestling people that were over there. Mighty Yankees, the Medics, the Interns.
Yeah.
Dante,
Well, I think of them as more Birmingham.
Infernos. Well, they went over in Memphis. The masked
tag
teams were
in
over
early
in
days, yeah.
But as far as men wrestlers or wrestlers under the mask as a single, I know Tim Woods worked there for a short period of time, but I don't think he got over that big.
No, he did not, as did Johnny Walker. I would just quickly, just depending on where you ask. I think if you ask the people in Atlanta, 99% of the people would say wrestling 2. The other 1% would say Tim Woods wrestling 1. I know Chris Ellis is watching tonight. His favorite, I think I'm speaking for Chris, and he's commented to me in Texas, but certainly he would say the Masked Superstar. Look at the sensational, intelligent destroyer. Look at the spoilers. There's just been so many. Look at Mil Mascaras. It'd be sometimes we probably need to do a show just based on that.
I think we ought to do a show on masked wrestlers for sure. And masked tag teams. You brought up the spoilers. I left them off my list, but those 2 guys were 2 of the best. And I would think Chris Ellis's favorite masked wrestler in Memphis would have been the Red Rooster.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that. He's probably at his house right now. Ask Chris if we can get the Red Rooster on as a guest.
I wonder if Chris Ellis I wonder if he still has the Red Rooster on his Christmas card list.
I would think not. As a matter of fact, one week we showed a Terry Taylor Phil Hickerson match. I don't know if you were on the show or not, and Chris had to admit that was a hell of a match. And Terry Taylor was a great wrestler, man. I listened to old Jim Cornette podcast, and man, he was doing Jim Cornette on Terry Taylor, calling him Kiss, you know what, and the scum of the earth, and all that sort of thing. I think again, worst enemy in the history of Cornette's life is Vince Russo, and I think Cornette felt Terry Taylor took Vince's side over Cornette, and I don't think Jim Cornette's a forgiving person. Do you, Michael?
Jimmy Cornette is as nice of a person as you'll ever want to know, except when he's in front of a live microphone.
Right.
That's the best way I can explain it. Jimmy is the heart of gold. I mean, people talk about, what Jimmy Cornette is? Jimmy Cornette is the carbon copy of Paul Feinbaum. Feinbaum in football and in sports, you look at what Cornette does in wrestling, and there's a place for that. There's a place for that in baseball. There's a place for that in wrestling. Basketball, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is that guy in basketball. That guy in wrestling is Jimmy Cornette. That guy in football is Paul Feinbaum. But let me tell you, Jimmy Cornette, and I'm gonna sing his praise right now. I think the world of Jimmy. Every year he goes out of his way to raise money for the WHAS Children's Crusade, which is a big event in Louisville and throughout Kentucky. It is a big fundraiser for kids that are the kids that don't have parents, and kids that just don't have it, don't have the luxuries of other kids. Jimmy Cornette does as much as an individual as many corporations in that area do, and I will always sing Jimmy Cornette's praises.
funny story. The next event that we're going to talk about, the final event that we're going to talk about, and we cannot show video of this match, but certainly very interesting, that drew 8,091 people on April the 5th, 1982. The opening match was Rick McCord against Tojo Yamamoto. The second match was Bobby Fulton against J.R. Hart. The third match was the Midnight Express, Dennis Condrey, Randy Rose against Roy Rogers, who was the future Johnny Rich, teaming with Dutch Mantell. Roy Rogers, Tommy Rich's cousin. The next match was a six-man tag, Steve Kern, Stan Lane, and Eric Embry against Luke Graham, the French Angel, and the Dream Machine. The next match was Jerry Lawler against the Monk, M-O-N-K. The next match was a Southern Tag Team title match. It was Robert Gibson and Steve Kern against Sweet Brown Sugar and Bobby Eaton. And the main event that night was the debut match for somebody that was very famous. They made a movie about this match. Andy Kaufman beat Jerry Lawler by disqualification in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. It drew 8,091 people. Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. So, boys, when we're looking at the greatest events, this is not certainly one of my favorites. And even though that it brought the most publicity ever to Memphis Wrestling, and we have some good pictures there. And so, certainly, I think a good ending point of as we wrap it up today. I'm so interested, and we'll go with Pat first. Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler, as we're doing our series on the greatest nights of Memphis wrestling. I think you probably will not argue with anything that we've talked about so far tonight. But I was just curious, how far up there would you put this match? Eyeballs nationwide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Memphis wrestling isn't the national among the wrestling fans, the national phenomenon it became. Now, part of that was kind of the end of the story on the David Letterman show. But credit to Lawler and Jerry Jarrett, because my understanding, and I think it's pretty well documented on TV and everything else, but it's also the story I've heard. Andy went to Vern Gagne first.
Vince McMahon.
To Vince first, and then he went to Vern, and Vern said, call Jerry Jarrett. And Jerry saw something in it. And the truth of the matter is, yeah, Kaufman was goofy and all that, but they got some great business out of that. Great business out of it.
And it elevated Lawler as a national entity right there, no doubt about it. And I'll argue with, not argue with you, because I know what you just said is that out there. I'll just tell you what I always heard, and this is coming from both Lawler and Jerry Jarrett, mainly Lawler. They went because Andy Kaufman, in the biggest media center in the world, New York City, he went to Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon said, no, I've never heard the Vern Gagne story. I heard that Bill Apter, who was with London Press and based up there in New York, and had the ear of Vince McMahon, and somehow he got word that Vince said no, and he had met Andy Kaufman. Bill Apter did, and he was a friend of Jerry Lawler. And he said, I'll tell you who will do it, because Andy was depressed that Vince McMahon would not do it, because he just wasn't going to do that. That wasn't what his style. He wasn't the Vince McMahon we know that would have gone all with it. His dad said no. Bill Apter said, I know somebody that'll do it. Call Jerry Lawler. Andy Kaufman then called Jerry Lawler, and
I don't doubt that story.
Did he call Jerry Jarrett or did he call Jerry Lawler?
Jerry Lawler.
He called Lawler. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the story I always heard. Absolutely. And I believe that. Absolutely. I believe that. But to get it approved, Jared, that's a major thing, bringing the comedian in. I'm sure, and Dundee and Jarrett was booking at the time, so Lawler had to, would run it by them for sure.
Well, Kaufman was a national television star, and he was a comedian, so he had a following. And I really think that was the beginning of mainstreaming professional wrestling on a worldwide certainly on a national level again, but certainly into the worldwide level that it is now. I think that was the seed that sparked everything that came behind it when the territories got raided and all the stars ended up at the WWE and then WCW and all that good stuff. But I think the thing that really started people paying attention to professional wrestling, I'm talking about normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill people that work 40 hours a week, wrestler, non-wrestling fans, started paying attention to that because of everything that was happening. And it got national exposure, not only with Letterman, but on the nightly news.
Yes.
I mean, it ended up on the NBC Nightly News. It ended up on, I just think that was the seed that started it all.
And credit to Andy Kaufman. Got a pile driver, stayed in the Memphis hospital 4 days, right? And paid for it.
When we talked about the Letterman situation, Adam, who writes in our private chats different comments, some of them I share, some of them I don't. But another important thing is that this helped Channel 5 because the Letterman show was on NBC. Channel 5 was on NBC. And so that helped the Channel 5 affiliate to have a star from another program. It just, once they did the Letterman Lawler appearance, and that was just a fantastic thing as well. And it was covered certainly not only national news, Memphis news, Jack Eaton, and everybody else. I'm going to give I've got a big subject that I'm going to tease, and I don't want to. I haven't ate all day, people. I got to go eat. But I also want to say some of the other things on the list that I could not find. I was hoping Adam could. I couldn't find a version that would let me save the empty Coliseum match between Funk and Lawler. Next week, hopefully, we will have that. Also, next week, I have now, but we don't have time to show it, the best match I ever saw. The June 7th, 1983, Loser Leave Town, Lawler and Dundee. We will also show the April 27th, 1987, Hair versus Hair, Lawler Idol, Rich comes out of the cage. We will also show the May 9th, 1988, 8,000 fans for Lawler and Kurt. We certainly, in upcoming series, Monday Night Memories, we will show the Blast Off the Dome. We'll show a lot of stuff coming up on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Now, last subject, and I got to go eat. So it's 9 o'clock right now. I believe you mentioned earlier ESPN, did you not, Michael, earlier in conversation?
I don't remember mentioning ESPN, but I may have.
One of the things I noticed, apparently ESPN is spending a lot of money on wrestling, a lot of money on this, a lot of money on that. I heard they bought the NFL Network and all kinds of stuff. They're cutting a lot of mainstream anchors right now. They fired somebody today. They recently fired a football analyst, but at the same time,
You're talking Disney now. You're talking Disney because Disney owns ESPN.
Okay. All right. They are recently signed a contract, I think a 5-year deal with Stephen A. Smith for $100 million. They're also reportedly in negotiations with wrestling-related guy, Pat McAfee, for $60 million. So that's $100 million for Stephen A. and Pat McAfee 60 million. And they fired a guy today that worked for ESPN for 35 years. Life's not fair. Just quick response, not wrestling related, but quick response to that. Pat, we'll use this as your last take. And what are you looking forward to in the list of stuff I said we're looking for next week?
Well, I'm looking forward to getting a deeper dive into what we're doing. On the ESPN thing, I mean, I think like it's interesting to me they've doubled down on some people, but they got rid of a lot of people. So I think they're trying to make it. I think they're trying to turn it from a news network into basically a celebrity network, and that's I hadn't signed a check there. Nobody's asked me what it looks like. Why you do that. Michael is certainly much more experienced in the media world than I do, but it looks like they're uh, focused on creating stars rather than dispensing information.
All right, very interesting. And Al Tuttle says ESPN is a shell of its former self. Hadn't been good in a few years. I hated it when they got rid of Dan Patrick, and he's doing okay now. I think he went in business for himself and has been successful. What do you think's going on in your business, Michael, in the broadcasting business, and how surprised are you they're firing a bunch of people, but they're paying Stephen A. $100 million?
Not at all. No surprise whatsoever. It is a superstar world. The Alabama Crimson Tide will put a football team on the field come the first week of September. That is worth $42 million in NIL money. And that is a fact. $42 million being paid to the athletes you're seeing on the field. The networks are suffering. They're suffering from the lack of programming because a lot of good quality programming has gone the route of streaming. They said that, television today is going through what radio went through 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And that is massive consolidation. A lot of people, little boys little stations being swallowed up by big stations, big corporations, so forth and so on. Debt service is out of this world. There's no way they'll ever service the debt service. So what they're doing is they're building from within a superstar quote, quote mentality. But when you watch the programming, and I don't disagree with what Al said, you watch the programming on ESPN. 20 years ago, there would have never been the championship hacky sack tournament on ESPN. And it's on ESPN. They're running reruns of the Savannah Bananas playing teams in football stadiums. And the Savannah Bananas are hilarious. They're awesome. If you haven't seen a game, got to go see it. It's not baseball, but it's funnier than baseball. So I think what television right now, I think corporate television right now is gasping for air. They're gasping for good quality programming, and nobody's buying it. And they're suffering from a standpoint of advertising. We have a television station, a network television station in Huntsville, Alabama, that you can buy a 30-second television commercial in a 10 o'clock newscast for $40.
Oh my God!
Wow!
And I've got the proposal. And television right now is taking. And I'm talking about broadcast television, and certainly now cable television are taking it on the chin. They've been hit boom, boom with the internet, Facebook, and all that stuff, and now streaming on demand. Watch wherever you want to be. I can watch any game. I can watch any Major League Baseball game at any time, anywhere on this thing right here in my hand. And people all over are gravitating to that. My wife loves the man-hating channel, which I think is called Lifetime. But she has now backed off from watching Lifetime to watching videos on her streaming service. And she has a couple of favorite streaming services. Prime is one of them. The other one is, I think, Upward or something like that, which is faith-based. It's awesome. Streaming services, you pay for them, but you know what? You get to watch it when you want, how you want. You can pause it. You can go to the potty. You can pause it and go get a glass of water. You can pause it and go outside and take a deep breath, or in her case, smoke a cigarette. I'm telling you, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. MTV was a phenomenal thing when it started. Right now, you can watch MTV any day of the week, and I dare you find a music video.
Oh, you won't. You won't. It is crazy. So I wanted to add that on, and you heard me say what we're going to show next week. You're looking forward to next week's show, Michael.
Absolutely. And by the way, my thanks to Randy West for coming up with the idea of Memphis's greatest hits, their greatest matches. I think it's a phenomenal idea. And Randy, you and you guys are doing a great job putting it together.
All right. Appreciate that very much. Somebody asked me where I'm going to eat. On Tuesdays, I always go to 99-cent taco night at Candela's restaurant down the street from my house. I usually go about 4 o'clock. I had a Memphis ride. And what do you have there?
The prop that you see on the commercial. Remember the old commercial for E-Entertainment when it first came out?
Yeah.
I have the prop. I got this when I was in Los Angeles. I have one from MTV. I remember the MTV logos that flashed, and they were different colors and different all that. I've got one of those out of that prop group too, but this is the original turntable thing that they did on TV. Anyway, it is what it is.
I think that's pretty cool. Thanks to Adam Dunn. I almost said Adam West. Adam Dunn for producing. Randy West for suggesting the title. For Pat Trammell for being Pat Trammell. For Michael St. John for being Michael St. John. Stay cool, people. It was 113 heat index today. Until next week, I'm Randy Hills saying bye-bye, everybody, for Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Good night, everybody.